And you're thinking, well, why are we doing a podcast? It's because I like to be in a room with Karl Pilkington. You know, like some people go and help sort of chimps.
Do they?
Yeah.
Well, they go to the
and
jumpers and things.
And help out little sort of endangered
Diane
species.
Fossey or whatever.
Exactly.
You're very much the Diane Fossey of the Manchester scene.
Of the little bald mank world. And Karl Pilkington is an ongoing experiment for me, because I've seen him blossom from an idiot into an imbecile. And I want to see it through. Look at the way he's looking at us. Look at that. He's got a perfectly round head. And that's why I'm doing this podcast. Karl, what do you think about all this?
It's just, I mean, we are living in that sort of era now, aren't we? Like, you need to be able to listen to stuff on demand when you want it and stuff.
I know you're not a fan of the iPod in general, are you? Or any of the MP3 things. You're concerned.
I'm warming to it. But
this is what's amazing about Karl. Even though he's talking about things like MP3 players, computers, iPods, he sounds like he was found in a glacier and thawed out. Do you know what I mean? And sort of taught to speak.
We're a couple of high school guys who found him, and we're trying to ingratiate him in the gang, trying to pass him off as someone from the modern day.
No. But my thing with iPods is, now, do we need them? Do you know what I mean? We're living in that era now where we have invented most of the stuff that we need, and now we're just messing about.
They said that in 1900. Someone actually said everything that's to be invented has already been invented. They said that in 1900, and how wrong were they?
No, but what came out, at what point, what was invented in that year where they went, right, that's it now?
The 20th century. Think what happened in the 20th century.
Go on.
Well, planes.
Yeah, but is that a good thing? Planes and that. Do you need a plane, really? Wouldn't it have been better if we all stuck where we should be instead of travelling about? War. Well, look, war's happening, isn't it? Because everyone's saying, well, now we can fly, we'll go over there.
So there were no wars prior to the invention of the aeroplane?
Not like there is today.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, the world's got smaller on it, everyone's saying that, right? Yeah. The way I was saying to you the other day, we now go to places where we shouldn't go. People go on holiday to places where you've got to have an injection before you go there. Yeah. Forget it then. That's a warning. Don't go there.
I'm with you on that. I don't want to enter a country where I have to have an injection to stop me from dying while I'm in that country. Right, I totally agree with you on that.
So what happened is, they invented the plane, and it's like, oh, let's go on holiday, and then they go, oh, die now. Oh, well, you've got to invent something. Let's invent an injection. And then it's like, right, well, what else do we need to go to that place? There's a lot of faffing. So what I'm saying is...
Is that a place? A lot of faffing?
What I'm saying is, Steve's travelled more than I have. You've been to, like, dangerous places.
I've been to places where you need injections, yeah.
Yeah, but why?
Because it's fascinating, isn't it? Don't you not believe in that idea of travel broadens the mind? It makes you experience other ways of life, other ways of thinking. It just enriches you as a human being. That's the whole reason people go travelling.
Well, since the invention of the Telly, you don't have to go that far to see it.
You're absolutely right.
So there you go then. The Telly was the 20th century, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
So where would you stop then? You'd stop making stuff now? Stop inventing stuff right now?
If we're going to invent something, right, forget like the traditional way of people having kids, right? The way they, have it away in that.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
No, like the way that, we have kids and stuff. If it'd be good if what happened was to control it is if man and woman, right, they're born and that, they enjoy their life, they learn a lot, they live to be about 78, I think, by that point.
So specific.
Yeah, 78,
No,
yeah.
But by 78, I reckon you've sort of got to that point where you go, do you know what, I've done everything I'm going to do. If you haven't bungee jumped by the time you're 78, you're not going to do it. No. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like...
Your hips come off.
You've done it all now.
Yeah.
And then you die, right? So, say if everyone had that, they live to be 78, but then, just as you die, you have a little baby inside you, and as you die, your life carries on.
Sorry,
how is this happening?
Sorry, are you mental?
No, but don't you think...
I mean, what? I've never heard such drivel.
You're saying that, but if Newton said it, you'd go, interesting. That's what annoys me.
The point is, Karl, he never would. He'd never say it, that's the point.
If you never say it,
I don't understand what you're talking about there. How was it? How is there a little baby in a 78-year-old?
No, what I'm saying is it's like an apple, where the apple grows and it's got its little baby pips in it, and the apple goes and the seeds are planted and a new one's born.
But that's what happens.
But that is what reproduction is.
Yeah, but I'm saying babies aren't being born left, right, and centre. It's controlled so that as someone dies, someone's born.
But Karl, stop. Whose responsibility is
Look,
this?
if you don't want to do it, you don't do it. But
is it supposed to be nature? Has nature got to develop humans so that we act that way, we live that way, or is this a scientific experiment?
He said to you then, he said, look, if you don't want to do it, we don't need to do it. Like, if you were up for it, we'll sort it out. We can do that.
We'll have a whip round so we can do the research.
I just think, at the end of the day, we've got to do something. And is anyone keeping an eye on this and looking at what we can do next to control the population thing? It does my head in that I've got to live in London for work and what have you. And there's loads of people here. And, you know, forget going out on a Saturday night, it's too busy. And you can't move and they keep... I mean, what annoys me about London
So your solution is that 78-year-old women have little babies inside them. And as they slip away into death, the little babies... And how is that baby then raised? Who looks after the baby?
Because it's a pretty good system, having a baby while you're young enough to look after that baby and make sure it lives to, reproductive age itself.
I mean, that system's been working for years.
Nature's sort of sorted it out. Natural selection and evolution sort of makes that a good model.
But wait a minute, nature. Pop that on hold, because Karl Pilkington's got an idea.
Yeah.
That's what it was, just an idea.
Yeah, well, it was nonsense. But thank you for it.
I mean, it was the ramblings of someone you'd find by themselves in a hospital eating flies.
This is the sort of thing you find when, if they find maybe a pamphlet or a booklet written by a psychopath. You know, someone, just before they went on a rampage and then turned the gun on themselves, they go through their possessions and they find a book and it's got weird drawings, women with knives in their face, and this kind of garbage.
In fact, I saw a similar sort of theory written out on a wall, but it was written in shit.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, all I'm saying is, I think it's, you know, when people die normally, everyone's fed up about it, aren't they, and a bit down. But if when you pass away, you go, oh, we're going to miss Gladys or whatever, but then there's this new life brought in, it's almost like a bad news.
But you're talking about it like someone could pick this idea up and run with it. Like you've given them enough information to do it. How is this possible? Where does she get the baby from? Why does it grow? Why grow it in Gladys's belly? Why not have it in a drawer? Ready to go, just add water. I mean...
Who looks after son of Gladys?
There is no theory here. It's the ramblings of a madman.
What I'm saying is, though, the body's always changing, innit? From caveman to now, or whatever.
In some cases.
And they're always finding out more and more. Like I read the other day about how they're saying, do you know, like they say, people have six senses?
Yeah.
There's loads more than that. Right, and there's this one...
I say, show me that you've got one.
No, right, and there's this one that's knocking about.
Go on.
That, what it is, say if I'm in a pub, right, and I'm just doing a crossword or whatever.
Unlikely, but go on.
And there's some woman who's walked in, right, and she's staring at me.
Yeah.
I know she's looking at me, and I look up and I look round, she's looking at me. Right. And they're saying that's a new sense that they found out from, like, you know, doing tests and what have you.
Yeah, it's rubbish.
And they're saying that's been around since like man and dinosaur was knocking about.
They've stopped.
No, they've explained
I think it's safe to assume that, you know, that with your perfectly round head, people are always stopping and looking.
No, but they explained.
I mean, you just know that there's probably going to be someone there for you, right?
They said it's from the time when, like, caveman was, like, wandering about, and he'd go, hang on a minute. And he'd look round, there's a dinosaur there or whatever, and he'd leg it.
This is nonsense. I hate when people use the term when caveman was wandering around. Caveman and dinosaurs, they used to live together, yeah. Oh, that's the same era. Yeah. What have you been watching? Raquel Welch?
What do you mean?
Well, what do you mean caveman wandering, knocking around with a dinosaur?
You know the Flintstones is only partly based on fact. Dinosaurs and man did not coexist. The dinosaurs had long gone before man arrived. Extinct. Kaput. You don't believe us?
What, you don't believe because you've seen...
Because you saw that film where they took pictures of lizards and magnified them and put them next to men in films so they looked like they were fighting.
Yeah.
No, but why couldn't that have happened?
What is the film with Raquel Welch? A million years BC.
A million years BC or something.
A million years BC. Brilliant.
Yeah.
No, but...
She had a sort of woolly mammoth bikini. Fact.
But why wasn't the dinosaurs back then just like how we have dogs now, in a way?
He's watching the Flintstones.
He's watching the Flintstones.
He's thinking of the Flintstones.
Yeah.
That's what he's
when
thinking.
When he puts out the saber-toothed tiger.
Yeah,
and then
yeah. And he mixes his concrete in a pelican.
I just think that there must have been a crossover point.
Why? Why did you say that? Why do you think there must have been?
There must have been.
Because if nothing was knocking about at any point, how did anything carry on?
I know. Exactly. Why didn't Hitler meet Nero? It's weird, isn't it? There must have been a crossover. They must have met somewhere. They must have met at a party somewhere.
They mixed in similar circles.
Yeah. They must have bumped into... I can't believe it.
Forget it.
Oh.
I met Derek Akora the other week.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Now, who's he? Which one's he?
He's
Is he a medium? He can contact the dead, is that right?
he just chats to him and that, passes messages on.
Nice of him.
So I said, oh, tell us something a bit weird and that. So he said, what do you want to know? I said, just something weird. So he goes, all right then. He said, here's one for you, right? And he said, there's this pub out in the country. And he said, there's this mug. Do you know those old mugs that they have? Where they used to like leave their own cup knocking
Like a
about.
tankard.
Oh, yeah.
Tankard thing.
Yeah.
So there was one of them mugs in there, right? And everybody...
Tankard. Let's use tankard if we establish that.
Tankard, yeah.
Because you're the only mug in this story. You believe in it all.
High five. Great.
So this tankard's knocking about, right? And everyone who's running the pub keeps going, oh, we should stop leaving this tankard about, right? And they pick it up.
It must be a pain. Having a tiny, small tankard in a pub, that must be a real grind.
So every time they sort of picked it up and went, we'll have to wash that, and they popped it on a different sideboard. Next thing you know, that person who's touched it died, right?
Sure.
So
They must have been getting through bar staff.
they kept getting new staff and that, and they were like, what's the connection here? Right?
What's the connection here?
So they get a vicar in,
Of course they do.
and they go, look, there's a lot of weird stuff going on here. This tankard, every time someone touches it, they die. So he said, leave it with me. He gets his special water out and what have you. He comes round, does a little prayer, sprinkles it. He goes, right, not a problem, don't worry about it. He picks it up, chucks it in the bin. Guess what?
What?
Dies in a crash on the way because he picked it up.
Well, but Karl, you're telling me this like it's fact. And I'm meant to go, that's amazing.
Sakura, he told me.
It's Karl. I have no opinion of that story, other than I'm pretty sure there was absolutely no connection between touching the tankard and him dying. That's all I'm sure.
It's not just them though, is it?
I'm not going to even contest the chain of events. All I'm saying is there is no connection. There is no connection possible because I believe in logic and the laws of the universe.
Yeah, but what I mean, you never pick up a vibe of... I've got a mate, right, who he's living in this big stately home, right, and he's living in there now. He pays £100 a month. There's about 80 rooms, and it's this big stately house, and what have you. And I went down there. He said, "Oh, come down and have a look," right? And from outside, you go, "Oh, this is brilliant. It's like something out of, like the Man of Born or something." You go, "This is impressive." But then when you get in, it's like it's a wreck, and we go in, and all the floors are like a wreck and rotten and stuff. And I looked at the wall, and there was like a little piece of paper stuck on the wall, right? And I said, "What's this here?" So I wandered over, right? Got right up close to it, and somebody had wrote it.
Somebody had wrote it?
Oh.
Somebody had wrote it.
Go on,
so there's a little sign there, right? And I go up to it, and it says, flies, right? With an arrow. Flies, like, flies this way, right? I think that's a bit weird. So I follow the arrow, right? Which goes to this corner where there's a shelf. About 3,000 dead flies on it.
Oh my God.
Condom stuck on the top. You might remember in the first podcast, I was telling you about the scary house that my mate lives in, where he's like a security man. You're not like a security man, are you? What are you?
Well,
You just look after it, man. He just looks after it. So this is it, because I thought I'd show you around it, because just in case you thought I'd made it up and that, about the bit about the flies and all that, where there's flies on the shelf and stuff. So this is the sort of state I was telling you how it's a mess. This is it. Ceiling's caving in over there. It's just there. Her pants. Right then, we've found the room that I was talking about on the podcast, with the dead flies and that on it. This is the sign that I was telling you about. Fly on it, right, little arrow. There's flies here, look. Little ladybird there. Flies attacking the ladybird and that. Right, so you've got that. So follow it along. Right, you think, well, there's nothing there. And you've got, you can get the camera up there, right? Look at that lot. Where the dead flies. I'm just showing you this because some people have said, oh, you made it up and all that. But there's no way, just for the sake of the podcast, I'd go around collecting that many dead flies. There's a condom as well that I was talking about. Weird, isn't it? That's weird, isn't it?
That is weird.
That is weird. Right? So I'm looking at that, and there's loads of stuff on the floor and that bits of paper. Picked up this bit of paper, right? And it had, like in biro and that, it looked really old, like it'd been there years. And it had something like, need nappies, dummy, right? Blankets, like all this, like all stuff for, like, and I turned it over, right? And it said, none of this now needed, baby dead.
Right.
Now that's weird, isn't it? Now that's what I'm talking about when you get a bad vibe. You go, that's who's been in here?
It's bad vibe. It's just based on the fact that
Your mate's in charge.
yeah, that's terrifying. I mean, yes, it's like saying, are we scared of the dark? Yes, I understand why people are scared of the dark. I'm a little bit scared of the dark. You're walking along.
Because you don't know what's in it.
Yeah, you don't know what's in the darkness. That's why people get nervous. It doesn't mean you have to make the leap then that you've got some paranormal sense. Oh my God, I'm Karl Pilkington, and hang on, just like Derek Acora, I have sensed something strange and evil in this room. Wait a minute, there's some flies in a condom. I was right all along.
That is weird.
Flies in a Johnny equals badness.
The flies in the condom was weird.
It's
no.
weird. I don't know.
But the note. I just think of his face when he saw that, reading it by torchlight. You must have been terrified.
It's a bit odd, isn't it?
Rick, you'll be pleased to know we've already had some responses, and Simon and Mark have already emailed us in this link to something that was on the BBC News website. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but it's a remarkable story. Lion mutilates 42 midgets in Cambodian ring fight. That's just the headline.
That's a hell of a headline. That makes me want to know more about the story.
Well,
that's what a headline should do.
Spectators cheered as entire Cambodian midget fighting league squared off against African lion. Tickets had been sold out 3 weeks before the much-anticipated fight. The fight was organised when an angry fan contested Yang Shamoni, president of the CMFL, claiming that one lion could defeat his entire league of 42 fighters. Well, the fight was ended, Rick, after only 12 minutes, after which 28 of the midget fighters were declared dead.
Right.
While the other 14 suffered severe injuries, including broken bones, lost limbs, and they were basically unable to fight.
But the lion wasn't hurt?
It would have seemed that the lion was okay.
Oh, good. Well, that's amazing.
Karl, what are your thoughts instantly? I mean, you're about to have a take on that.
See, what's annoying me is I've sent money to Cambodia because apparently they're hungry and haven't got any energy. So what's going on?
Well, it's much easier to fill up a midget than it is a regular Cambodian. You know, they're
I just feel like I'm being cheated a bit.
You were conned before with a charity, weren't you?
Well, a few times, yeah.
What about the old lady? What was that?
I got stopped, and it's like they sort of drag you in by saying, "Have you got a gran?" And I said, "No, they died." And that. It's like, "Oh, did they die of the cold?" No, just, ill, what have you, just old age. He said, "Well, what happens with a lot of people's grans is they die in the cold, right?" So I was like, "Oh, that's bad, isn't it?" Anyway, so she's chatting, and she's showing me pictures of these old women who look cold, right? Saying, "Look at her, that's Edna. You know, she's got no family, she can't pay the bills and all that."
Yeah.
So I'm like, "Oh, yeah." Anyway, it goes on for about 15 minutes, and you feel bad. You give them your bank details, right? And what happens is, every couple of months, you get a letter from Edna. It's not from her, it's typed up and what have you. But there's a picture of Edna, right? And it's saying, oh, this December, you know, Edna's going to be extra cold. It's cold outside, she can't afford to pay the heat and what have you.
Yeah.
Keep going, right? So you keep paying every month like £5 or whatever. Get another letter a few months later, right? Edna's sat there, she's got a tan.
What do you mean she's got a tan?
Well, when they said, you know, she's cold, I thought they meant for the heating, not to send her on holiday for a month. She sat there with a tan, I'm not joking.
Are you sure it wasn't just a sort of a slight problem in the printing?
No, definitely.
Sure, it
she
wasn't
looked well happy.
Sure, it wasn't liver failure.
You see, when does it become, like, bad to avoid people like that? Do you know what I mean? Because some people say you shouldn't, you know, that they're people like us, they just had a bit of bad luck.
Well, of course they are.
Yeah, I know, but I remember one on our estate, right? And she was a bit, what's the word that you can use? Because I don't want to offend anyone. But I'd say, but sort of mental illness. Is that a term?
That's the official term.
I think that is the
new official term. It's mental homeless-itis.
Right, so she lived on the estate and what have you, and she aged.
How was she homeless if she lived on the estate?
Well, she sort of decided to stay around there because I think people on the estate spoke to her more than people who had money. So this mental illness woman on the estate, and what she used to do, right, she acted quite normal, and she used to always push like a pram around her, right? And I was like, she can't have a kid, can she? Right? And she was dead happy every day. She was up and down, walking up and down the road. Anyway, one day she got to walk past, right? Turned round and looked at her pram. There's a bucket with a face on it.
Rick, we've had an email here from the bloke. I think you're going to respect him, because I think you can tell straight away from his name that he's the kind of guy you'd want to hang out with.
Go on.
I know how much you love fun people.
Yeah.
Well, Paul, and he's calling himself this, Paul the Party Animal Parker, he's emailed in. He's given himself that moniker.
Right, I assume they're in sort of like quote marks,
They're
are they?
in speech marks, yeah. Paul the
Brilliant.
Party Animal Parker.
And he's called himself that?
Yeah.
That I can't wait.
So when you picture him, what are you thinking?
Millhouse.
Right, okay.
I think he looks like Millhouse from The Simpsons.
Yeah.
He's
He's working in sort of an IT department, maybe?
Yeah,
for a large
possibly.
organisation?
Oh, I think he might still be at school.
Okay, right, yeah.
Yeah, I think.
And this is the vital question. Do you believe him to be a party animal?
I believe him to be a party animal is as much as a man with a long scarf that his mum knitted him to look like Doctor Who can be a party animal, yes.
Do you think that when people are organising parties at his school, they're thinking the first person they got on the list and make sure he's guaranteed as
You've
a
got
guest
to take Paul the
is
party animal.
Paul Parker.
Because I bet he's got millions of affectations. I bet he wants to be known as the one that carries around a biscuit tin.
Yeah.
You know, he's got the scarf.
He's the guy who only ever wears bowling shoes.
It's his thing. It's his thing.
He's a little bit kooky, it's his thing. And it is very interesting what he sent in. He's found this on the web. A Serbian man who has invented a sex machine for women. And he's appealing to Western women to test his device. It runs on a 390-volt electric engine, simulates sex, and has a 7.5-inch artificial penis. As soon as I read this, I was thinking, it's just imagining there going, oh, thanks for coming in, yeah, okay. So what's going to happen is there's a penis that's going to pop out from here, and it's going to have sex with you. I'm going to stand behind the machine. I've got to stand behind here, there's a lot of dials and stuff, I don't want to bore you with.
Well, why do you have to stand behind it? Just...
I can't, it's technical stuff, but I've got to be behind the machine.
But there's no penis on the robot at the moment, it's just a hole.
No, don't worry. What'll happen is, I'll switch the machine on, I'll go behind, and then a penis will appear.
Will it be like a metal-looking penis?
It will be a robotic penis, but it will seem like it's a regular fleshy human penis.
So you've made this sort of like robotic penis look really realistic.
It's really realistic. You will not be able to tell the difference between, say, the robot one and mine, for instance.
Okay, well, I don't want to see yours.
No, there's absolutely not.
Because I've not come around here to have sex with a person.
I know, you've come around to test the machine.
Yeah, I'm
That's exactly what you're going to get.
Okay,
Like a piece of mechanical action.
To a lot of people, sex is important, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Not to you.
Well, it serves a purpose.
What purpose? Because you don't want to have kids, so what purpose?
Just, you know,
Something to do in the
something
evenings
to do, isn't it?
when the telly's broke.
But for years, like they've found stuff, haven't they? Machines from like Roman times that similar to that setup.
No machines in Roman times.
Like that though, the old sort of knob on a stick machine thing.
The old Roman...
That's them moving on, isn't it? It's the monkey going, do you know what? Quite fancy her. And you know from the beginning, I mean, that is a story that you go, well, that relationship ain't going to work. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I've not gone out with women who I've quite fancied, but then they smoke, and you go, oh, that's enough to put me off. Yeah. So, when a monkey's that big, the thought wouldn't even pass my mind
to go on a date.
This could work out. Sometimes it's just, relationships aren't made for each other. Now, that for a story, you wouldn't think it'd go past page 1, yet you're having a go at me because an octopus has got 2 heads. Which isn't that weird. When you look at them anyway, I mean, they must be the weirdest thing knocking about on the planet. I'm not kidding you. I've never seen anything so weird. And yet...
he's angry because he's not seen anything so weird as not doing so
But it's not yet a story.
What's weird about it? What's strange about an octopus with all the things that could...
Why is it any weirder than a dog?
Because it couldn't be further away from us. A dog has got human eyes. If a jellyfish had a pair of eyes like ours, I probably wouldn't worry about him that much. But like I said to you, it's that way that they haven't got eyes, they're floating about. I can handle some fish. They look like if they've got eyes, you can make eye-to-eye contact with them. A jellyfish, what are you looking at? It's a snidey thing, like I've said to you. You can see a lot in eyes. Do you know what I mean? They say, don't trust him. Why? It's his eyes. Jellyfish haven't even got any, and I don't trust them. Whereas if it had them, maybe there'd be the odd one that I'd go, oh, that one's all right.
Okay, Karl, I'm just going to throw it out at you. Tell me how weird it is, what bits annoy you, how you change it, okay? A crab.
How would I change it?
Yeah. Does it annoy you? Do you think it's weird?
They are weird, but they're at that size where they can get away with it.
Yeah, it suits them. Okay, good.
Would I change anything? In a way, what you're saying about things not working, he can't walk forwards. So why hasn't something happened? Why haven't they said, do you know what, these arms are too clumsy. We need to have them so they can slot away easier, and we can pull them out when we need them, instead of clumping around with them. Because they do struggle. You see them struggling with their arms. Yet they're still here, they're still doing that, they're still designed that way.
What's the weirdest animal? So you think the octopus is the weirdest animal on Earth?
Yeah. In terms of design and everything, and if you lined everything up, say if I'd come from another planet, and everything was lined up in a row, and they said, right, we're going to give you a crash course in what's knocking about on this planet.
Yeah.
And you go, right, go on then. And you go, this is man, here's a woman, here's a dog, here's a cat, here's an octopus, I go, hang on a minute, what is this?
That jingle, of course, signifies another reading from Karl Pilkington's diary. There was an animal in the paper today that I've never before seen. It's called an alpaca. They are gormless looking. The fellow who breeds them said they are easy to look after because they're used to harsh conditions because they normally live in the mountains. The problem with this is they will turn useless eventually, and then if we try to bung it back on the Andes, they won't like it. It's like how people win these live like a star for a week competitions. They're not good for anyone. Okay.
Do you know what I mean? If something's living somewhere...
But he's not going to
why are we
send
going
them
to
back
bung
to
it
the
back?
Andes. He's presumably breeding them for something else.
Yeah, but say if eventually, the world's getting busy, there's hardly any room, and we go, right, what can we shift here? What's getting in our way that we can shift? Well, those funny-looking things came from the Andes, bung them back. All right, then let's put them back. And they go, oh, they don't like it. They're not surviving, they're dying out. Why did we bring them here? Oh, it was closer. Yeah, but look, we've died out now of the...
Sorry, this is not... This isn't happening. They're angry about it, like it just happened and you're sick of it. None of this has happened
No,
yet.
I'm just looking at how it will happen. Leave them where they were.
But you're getting angry about things that you're speculating on now. It's absurd, Karl. Not once have I read here about your anger about terrorism or international, political injustice. Not once have you written about that. Only about the fact we may send animals back to the Andes.
I know, but just because it just annoyed me, that's all. They brought them here. Some fella's getting a load of praise because they brought this weird animal into the country. And yet, it's like, well, they were on the Andes for a reason. Leave them there. It was happier there. I feel guilty when I open a bag and a fly flies out of it, and I think, where's that come from?
What bag are you opening with flies? What bag?
No, just when, like, you know, the bag I took the computer home in, a fly flew out of it, and I thought, when did that get in that bag? Where have I brought that from? And it's the same thing. It doesn't want to be somewhere else. It was where it was. And that's the same with this Polaco, whatever.
Great news. Get $25 cash back for the purchase you just made. Sign up
It's
now.
amazing! It really is the roundings of a madman, isn't it?
Some new sea thing has been found.
That's the headlines on the news.
It wasn't found by sea experts, it was found on eBay. Someone was selling it for $5. I don't see the point in buying something that you don't know what it is.
What do you mean? What do you mean? It was...
Someone's found some sort of shell with a thing living in it.
Right.
They thought, oh, I've never seen one of these before, I can flog it on eBay. Someone bought it and then wanted to look after it, went to some sea expert, and they said, oh, I don't know what that is. That's the story. It's just weird how
Now you can get
stuff's
up to
being found on
$25
eBay.
cash
No, it wasn't
back
found
and
on
buy
eBay,
that
was
car
it?
purchase.
Yeah, but that's where the specialist people sort of picked up on it. It's just weird that, I mean, all I was saying is I wouldn't want one. If you don't know how to, if it's a new creature, you don't know what makes it happy. When you get a kitten, you go, stroke its head, loves it, right? And you can do that knowing that it's liking it. If I had a little seashell, and you go, does it sit in water? I don't know. Do you know what I mean? You could end up doing more damage. So that's why I wouldn't want it. It's nice to have rules in it. It's nice to know what you're doing with something.
Well, as you write in the diary, it's like if an alien landed and wanted to live with you. As much fun as it might sound, it wouldn't be long before you got annoyed with it because it wouldn't eat the food you gave it.
That's what I'm saying, but I couldn't have a go at it because it might not like pasta.
It might not.
Everyone likes pasta.
Wow. That's it for another week. I hope you've enjoyed this half hour of drivel. I mean, some of the most stupid things ever said. I mean, it's like he's got a contempt now for the world. Like, he doesn't care what comes out of his head.
Learning can be frustrating, can't it? You know, you maybe I'm getting you thinking, maybe on your way home today you'll be going, octopus with two heads. And if you do that for 5 seconds, I've done my job.
Good to have a job in it. So, from me, Ricky Gervais, goodbye. From Steve Merchant, goodbye. And from Karl Pilkington. Hello, and welcome back to the first in the third series of the Ricky Gervais Show with me, Ricky Gervais, Stephen Merchant.
Hello there.
And the fool, the round-headed buffoon that is Karl Pilkington.
All right.
We've been away filming our second series of extras, leaving Karl to his own devices in a sweltering London. About a heat wave here in the capital city, haven't we, Karl?
It's been hot, right?
It's been up to 100 degrees, record-breaking temperatures.
Yeah.
What have you been doing then?
Sort of enjoyed it a little bit. Was out and about,
Yeah?
getting to see the place, having loads of walks. And I like to have walks. You know, watching what
Like a
people do.
dog.
Yeah! When he jumps off the couch and starts scratching against the door.
Suzanne thinks it's time.
It's just good thinking time, though, isn't it? As well, having a walk. You've got no other clutter going on around you. And you just think about a lot of stuff. And, you know, like say, with the weather being hot and stuff, a lot of insects knocking about.
Right.
So I've just been watching them.
so while we've been filming a TV show, you've been watching insects.
Yeah, just seeing, because everybody knows insects are out there, but no one's keeping an eye on them.
What are they up to? What are you worried about?
Steve, you wouldn't be laughing like that if you'd watch them, because they do some weird stuff and that is what I mean.
What sort of stuff? Any examples?
I saw a bee have a heart attack.
You saw a bee have a heart attack.
Yeah.
How were you sure it was a heart attack?
Because what happened, I've been...
Did it clutch its chest with all 6 legs?
No,
Were there some other little bee paramedics?
No, I'd just been out in the park anyway, just looking at, you know, caterpillars knocking about, butterflies and stuff, so I was sort of...
So when Suzanne goes to work, she goes, Karl, don't you waste the day. Just because you don't work at the radio station anymore, I want you to do some constructive stuff. And you go, yeah, I am, yeah. And so in your head suddenly goes... And he goes out. Oh, it's a moth.
But the thing is, so I'd been in the park and I was aware of the insects that are around us more than like most of the time. And I come out of the park, just crossing like sort of a busy road and what have you, and I saw this bee to the right of me, sort of in the air, and it was a big one, and I was a bit like, oh, let's watch that. And he just fell. He fell from the air in front of me, and it was on the pavement. And I thought, oh, what's going on here? And I looked at it for a bit, and it was really still. Gave it a little kick, just to see if there was any movement. Nothing. Stone, sort of, what's the saying? Stone cold dead.
Yeah! Stone cold bee dead.
So,
yeah. I like the fact that this bee suddenly saw Karl and had a heart attack.
Yeah.
It'd never seen anything that round before. Yeah. It just thought, it had approached him because he thought it was a sunflower.
My God, it's a giant walking orange. Every dream has come true.
No, but it just summed up life for me. I thought, that's like us, isn't it, at the end of the day? They have heart attacks, stress.
Do you put it down to stress, do you?
Well, it's in London, isn't it? You know, everything has stresses from living here.
And they are bald, aren't they? They've got fur all over. They lose the...
And always overweight.
It was a fat, bald bee.
So what did it fell to the floor and you instantly, you just kicked it, you didn't attempt to
No, I waited a
revive
second and just looked at it to see if there was any, leg movement or wing, and there was nothing, and then when I sort of kicked it, it was sort of hard. It had hardened already. It was just...
Rigor mortis
set in.
Did it put you in a bad mood for the day? Because I know things like that can just send you over the edge for the day.
Death and that does a bit. Suzanne doesn't like me talking about death.
What riveting conversations do you come up with?
No, just things like one of our mates has had a baby recently, and I just was saying, oh, when that's sort of our age, we'll nearly be dead.
Think of that.
That's the first thing he says, is a new life brought into the world.
I know.
But when he's our age, we'll be dead.
Yeah.
No,
Maybe they'll let you do the speech at the christening.
Yeah, it's just, so like I say, just insect life and that, it's interesting.
You say it's interesting, but do you care about really finding out about them? Do you really care about what bees do or as you look at them and you make up your own world? For example, it had a heart attack, it's stressed, it's overweight. You know nothing. I could probably, why don't you look something up? Honeybees are fascinating. Honeybees, they've been around making honey for 100 million years. That's incredible. Their wings beat over 11,000 times a minute.
And he's thinking, no wonder I had a heart attack.
Yeah, exactly. But they're do you know bees, like ants, are actually like specialised wasps. They're sort of developed from the same
Family.
Huh?
Family, like.
Well, yeah.
It doesn't surprise me.
Doesn't surprise you, no? Does it interest you in any way?
Well, everything's linked to something, isn't it? It's like how they say we're from monkeys and that.
Yeah.
It's all the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I've been watching loads of stuff. I've been watching ants. You mentioned ants. I've had a lot of moths in the house. They're sort of sad.
I mean, you say it like it was a garden party.
No, it's just all these things. You look at them. I mean, you go into the scientific bit saying, it likes honey or whatever.
It doesn't like honey. The reason they store honey is to get them through the winter when there's not like nectar, or nectar's hard to get, and they store it. And they store too much, which is why we can skim a little bit off the top. We're like agents.
Yeah, well, but all I'm saying is I look at more about what its life is like.
Well, no, you don't. You guess. You make it up. You don't look into it at all.
No, but you can. A bit of guesswork is you're pretty close to the truth most of the time.
What do you mean? That statement sums you up. A bit of guesswork is pretty close to the truth.
Because if you watch something long enough, is what I'm saying, you can see that it's a bit clueless. It's the same way about ants. They're hard workers and all that. I watch one. It's going back and forth all the time. They go one way and then they stop and go the other way. They try to look busy in front of the mates. But if you watch one long enough, it's back and forwards, and it's like it's done nothing there.
I'm going to carry this twig back and forth until I can knock off at 4.
There's a lot of that going on.
Is there?
Because there's not. There's none of that going on.
There is. No, like I say, the moth, depressing little sort of thing.
Why is it depressing?
Just the way it hasn't got eyes, has it? You just look at it, you don't know what's going on. I think if you haven't got eyes, you shouldn't have wings.
That's a rule. If we can put that into practice, please.
That's a great rule. That's a fantastic rule, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you haven't got eyes, you should know it.
It's certainly true of people thinking of becoming an air pilot.
You know, whilst you've been working and that, I've been travelling about a bit, just seeing the country and that. Went to Dorset, right? Nice beach there. And you know those huts you get, like a hut on the beach, and
where you get changed?
you can get changed in it, but they're better than that. It's like you can put a telly in it, sofa if you want.
Oh, you don't mean the Victorian changing huts? You mean
those sort of things. It's sort of bigger than that.
Yeah.
And we're walking down there, and there was a really sort of big fat family in one of them. There was about 4 of them, and you could tell that they'd never had a game of anything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just sit down there, eating ice cream, looking at the sea, and what have you. And the weird thing is, the little fat kid, the youngest one, who must have been, I don't know, about 8, he was really fat to the point of you couldn't see his neck.
Yeah.
And he sat at the front of his mum and dad and his older sister. He sat there. And he had a frisbee, and I thought, look, they don't want to play with him. I mean, that's an active game to play, isn't it?
Yeah.
Frisbee. As we got closer, he was just using it to eat Maltesers out of. I just thought, even again, you know, the one active thing he's got is using it to eat out of.
Yeah. Extraordinary.
And that just sums up what people are like when it comes to keeping fit and activities.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Were you sporty?
I was, yeah. I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Were you good at it?
I was good at some things. Was never good at rugby. Never good at cricket. Was all right at football. But those things were the more competitive things that were scary. So at my school, when you're surrounded by like people the fun is hurting someone.
Well, it's weird you say, because I remember the first day I went to play cricket, my mum said, as I was leaving, I was really excited about playing cricket, she went, be careful. I was walking across the playing field once, a cricket ball hit me on the head, I was unconscious for 2 hours. Freaked me out. On the way to play cricket, I thought, okay, always scared of the ball, because it's obviously, as you say, rock solid. I remember a couple of seasons later, I had to play rugby for the first time. As I was leaving the house, she went, be careful with rugby. I knew a kid once broke his back playing it.
I was terrified of rugby. I was terrified of it.
Such a scary game.
The ball came to me, I got rid of it immediately.
It's mental.
Yeah.
I don't understand. What I remember is, I remember a teacher saying you've got to play it very carefully because you can get seriously injured, you can hurt yourself, you can be crippled for life. I remember thinking, why are we allowed to still play this game at school?
I was worried about cracking heads and a finger in the eye.
How is it not bad?
That worried me all the time, a finger in the eye.
But they removed the asbestos from schools in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
But rugby, it's allowed to play. It's mental.
Yeah.
See, I had a mate called Mark who liked playing cricket, right? And when I used to say to my mum, oh, I just want to go out with Mark and his dad to play cricket, and she never used to let me go. She'd go, oh, I prefer, you didn't. And I used to always think that, it's because it's a dangerous sport. You can get hit on the head by the ball and it's hard. Put an eye out or whatever. But it was because his dad used to drive us to the place to play cricket, and he had his eyelids were too big, so he used to have to sort of have his head right back.
Like one of those old-fashioned dolls.
Right.
They
clunk back and clunk forward again.
And she didn't like me getting in the car with him.
Sorry, who's this? Whose eyelids are too big? So, growing up, you had a woman who had a head like a bag of spuds.
I didn't know her.
No, you had 2 kids at school with webbed hands and feet and big heads. You had a pigeon chest boy.
Nowadays you're walking around with insects and moths like something from James and the Giant Peach.
Yeah, and you had a bloke whose eyelids were too big.
One thing I've noticed, because I occasionally go to the gym, and you know those guys who work out constantly to give themselves extraordinary physiques, they're on the trip, they're on the weights, and they're really, I notice in the summer particularly, those guys cannot wait to get their shirts off.
Yeah.
Everywhere you see, they're walking around. If they've got a good torso, they are walking shirts off. Even, I think, if you go to nightclubs, I notice there's always one guy who's thinking, well, I have put so much work into this body, I have got to get my shirt off on the dance floor.
At best, yeah.
And it comes straight off.
A brand new tattoo. I'm not covering that up.
Exactly.
I've paid a lot for it. Let's see it.
Yeah.
But that's what we were saying about bodies. I can't remember why we were talking about it. We've got to a point in science now that you can change your head. Right?
No, well, that doesn't make any sense at all.
It was a programme, it was done in the 50s or 60s where they stuck a monkey's brain on a stick and had it wired up and it still worked, right?
Right, okay.
And that was in like the 60s or...
Right, okay. Well,
So-
to say to change a head makes no sense at all. Because if you put a different head on a different body, you're changing the body.
Yeah, no, well, that's what I'm about to say to you, though.
What?
That's what I'm saying. That I'd be more confident if I had someone else's body. Because if anyone dissed it, I can go, oh, it's bad, isn't it? But it's
What
not
are you
mine.
talking about?
Well, it's like, say,
As opposed to someone else's head?
yeah. Well,
Well,
it
you'd
wouldn't be
rather-
me, would it? No, the head is me.
Well, of course it is. That's what I mean.
Yeah,
So
the
what do you
head's
mean? You'd be happier having someone else's body? What, than your own?
What I mean is, say if you're wandering about, like, for some reason there's an incident, you have to take your top off and that, and everyone's looking at you, right? And you're a bit sort of, you haven't got the muscles and that, you haven't got the six-pack.
Right.
Which isn't that nice anyway. I don't know why that's become a nice thing, really, seeing the insides of you. You might as well... I mean, I know I came up with the see-through skin idea, but it's a bit weird, isn't it? You can see stuff.
No, it's the muscle in front of the...
No, it's not.
It
Sometimes
is.
you can
It's
see,
not the,
like,
not the
tubes.
outline of your
No, you
organs.
can't see tubes.
You can see tubes and veins and stuff.
Well, you can see veins.
Yeah, well, I don't want to see that. That's why we've got skin over it. Is what I
Stop
mean.
looking at naked men then.
Why
No,
you
but
keep...
sometimes you can't help it because it's been hot, and like you say, there's people walking about with vests on and that. So anyway, what I'm saying is, say if some incident happened, I'm walking about with my top off.
Right.
Girls are laughing at me, right?
Why?
Don't know, they might.
Yeah, go on. So they wouldn't look at your body, they'd all look at your head.
So what I mean is,
Yeah.
rewind that, right, and imagine all that happens again, but I've got someone else's body.
Right.
Whose body?
Just some fella who's died, and my body was injured, and they said, we've got a new body in. You can
Right.
have it. We'll
Yeah.
stick your head on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, say if
They're laughing at you.
they are
laughing at the
laughing, they're
body,
laughing
yeah.
at the body,
Yeah.
but at least I'd be able to sort of go, I know it's a mess, but it's not mine. At least I don't have to claim ownership.
So all of this extraordinary technology that can make a head, put one head on another person's body, so you can go, it's not my body.
No.
But
That's not your
I'm
own.
not being funny though. So if you have a body transplant, right, and you're there, you're at home, naked, you look down, lovely penis and a set of testicles,
Yeah.
right? What do you do with them?
What do you mean? What am I doing with them?
Well, do you like them?
Well, you wouldn't mess about with them as much as if they were your own.
But if you did mess about with them, would you feel guilty that you were messing about with another man's testicles and penis?
And it's the full body.
Yeah.
No, because they're not my hands either.
You're a genius! You're a fucking genius! So what you're doing is watching someone else wank.
Yeah.
Well, one thing Karl has been doing over the past few months is writing his diary. He's kept that up. I don't know what he's had to write about. All he's been doing is looking at moths and ants and bees and going for walks. But I'm sure it's all in the diary. So let's have a look at that. Oh, I don't believe he's only got to write it down.
We went to the park and had a brew. Suzanne read the paper while I played with the ladybird. I mean, it's like a child, isn't it? It's like what a child would do.
Suzanne read the paper while I played with the ladybird. His only friend is a beetle.
It climbed up my arm. It struggled on me hairs.
This is in detail then.
Yeah. It kept stopping every now and then and was rubbing its head with its right arm. It did it about 4 times and always used its right arm. It rested for about 5 minutes, then flew off. Sunday. Had a bit of a to-do with Suzanne because she wanted a line today. I ate this. Once you're awake, you should get up. I got up and put the radio on really loud. She eventually got up. I told her insects don't have lines, so we shouldn't.
Why are you obsessed
I
with
mean,
insects?
you must be fucking unbearable to live with. You must be a nightmare.
No, I've just started, because I've watched insects a lot, I don't want to keep going on about them because we're a bit insect heavy, but at the end of the day, if we copied insects, we wouldn't go far wrong.
I don't know what you mean, though. One minute you're